Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My Whiskey Den. We are going crazy. We are off the whiskey path at the moment. We are going to stumble into some rum, and hopefully some quite tasty rum. So, hit it.
Let's get into it. One, two, three. Let's get some more. Have it in. Get some more. Just get some more.
We're back, and we are talking about the Havana Club Anejo Reserva Cuban Rum, 40% alcohol by volume. They are out of Santa Cruz de la Norte, Cuba.
Cuba.
It's a pretty bottle.
Yeah, it is.
It's a nice
beautiful
dark bottle. I like the label on it. We're not going into deep description of this one because it's not really our forte, and I don't know too much about it being in Cuba. I don't imagine a lot of people are going to be going to the distillery down there per se. At least the people watching our channel. But if you find this on the shelf, or your friend happens to wander to Cuba and can pick up a bottle, maybe some tasting notes, maybe say, hey, pick this one up. So, Mike, where did you get this bottle? Because I think this came from you.
Yes, I picked it up in Canada, and it was on my list of things to do because we drove into Canada, so didn't have to worry about airlines or anything like that. I will say, in doing Canadian searches for spirits, I really feel for our Canadian brothers in whiskey who have talked about the the Liquor Control Board of Ontario and some of their tactics and prices. I knew I was going to get a bottle of this, but fortunately we had stopped in and walked through now the name escapes me, a duty-free shop. And so in the LCBO, this was like $40-ish Canadian. At the duty-free shop, it was like 22.
That's what I saw in some of the places. It should be about 25-ish or so in that ballpark.
It was enough of it. So we picked up a few bottles of it and another one. And I'm not a huge rum person. I like it. I just don't drink a lot of it. But very, very happy with the purchase for the low 20s Canadian price, especially with the exchange rates. No, it was very prolific in Canada. Okay. I'm not sure of the availability in the States, but I saw it at every LCBO and at the 2 duty-free shops we went to.
Very cool. We'll maybe look into some of the molasses or something they're using with it, or the type of molasses and other things they're using to make it. We have another one we're going to review that I think it's a 7-year-old, or this I believe it's a 5 or a 6. We'll get a little more information by that one. We're just having a little fun evening tasting some stuff. So
yeah, it's a fruity rum.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody say that this was probably more along the lines for using as a mixer. I don't think it's bad straight. I totally get using it as a mixer because it's not just straight up rum sugar.
No, and it's not your it's not your Captain Morgan spiced rum.
No.
When a lot of Americans hear rum, they think to Captain. I mean, I've done my plenty of fair poses with my knee up in the air, so I can't say I haven't had a few Captain and Cokes in my lifetime.
You've had the Captain in you a few times.
A few times. The eye patch, I don't even know if it has an eye patch, but I had the hat, and boy, the pose was down for a few years. So you start realizing that out of the Captain and Cokes, you're getting a lot of sugars, and that can give you headaches the next day. And maybe I wasn't making that correlation as to why I like a lot more straight stuff now rather than some mixed drinks.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against mixed drinks, but definitely not a spiced rum like that in any way, shape, or form. I mean, there's some spice in there, but this is more, like you said, fruity.
Yeah, I get orange and lemon and raisin.
Yeah. I was even gonna go like an apricot in there. Definitely the orange and the lemon for sure. I was getting like a little bit of apple even.
I could see that.
And then there's like a
little cinnamon.
A little cinnamon. you are getting like this rich kind of undertone, kind of sugary note.
Yeah, but kind of like a kind of like a pastry sugar or it's
A
custard,
confectioner
like a
sugar.
custard.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's rich, like almost, and I'm not gonna, kind of like a vanilla
Yeah,
custard because you're getting the smell and the richness, but it's not like an overpowering smell.
yeah. If this, yeah, so you said that with vanilla. So if you had put this in a teaspoon and said, "Here, smell this vanilla before I add it to the recipe," I'd be like, "Oh, this is some nice vanilla."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not it's not sugar sweet. Yeah, it's got a really nice nose to it.
And then, like I said, you're getting a little bit of, I'm not, I want to say like a medium molasses because it's not. It might be a dark, like, but it's the hold and the feel on it is not there. But it is. This is more primarily fruit. This is a lot of fruit. The
Yeah.
raisin you said is definitely kind of midway through. This is not. This is not what I would expect from. I mean, maybe not a couple years ago. Now, a little bit more nuanced. Not as much with rum, but a little bit more. But
Yeah, I mean, kind of difference of if you had just a run of the mill cheap whiskey
yeah,
versus a whiskey that had a little craft to it. This isn't, and not again, I'm not a rum person, so I'm not knocking Captain Morgan, but like you said, this isn't Captain Morgan. It's like, no, this is like if somebody said I don't like rum because I've had too much Captain Morgan, it's like, well, then give this a whiff.
yeah, because it's not. And
Yeah,
I think the easy thing to say is this one is much more nuanced,
yeah, yeah,
and the flavor a little more blended together. Not like this a little bit of a spiky attack from the spices in that, but
yeah. A little tobacco
yep,
and coffee,
definitely, yeah, definitely, and more on the tail end for me with the tobacco and the coffee.
but
I think that was that.
not saccharine, sugary sweet.
Not at all, not like heavy. And I think that the richer notes, like we just mentioned, were the kind of what I was smelling more so. I meant like weird molasses thing I couldn't peg down. But yeah, coffee, tobacco, and it's incredibly smooth.
Hmm.
Um, all right.
It's not the thick sugary mouthfeel to
Mm-hmm.
it. It's not a thin spirit, but it really dissolves across.
Mm-hmm. And I'm getting some of the um, orange, lemon, apple
Yeah.
on the front half of it as I was like writing it low over my tongue, like I'm kind of doing the chew on it, and I was getting a lot of that in the front half, and it's still very kind of fruity on it, and then all of a sudden you get, like you said, the tobacco and the other notes start to roll in, a hint of spice or barrel
Yeah,
note.
after a couple more sips, especially, it's like once it's been in your mouth, it kind of builds. And now I can feel it more on my tongue after having a few sips of it, but it's not overwhelming sugar.
No, and it's like almost like it feels like a very like a runny syrup, like
Yeah,
a light syrup, like really like watered down.
yeah, and it's 40%.
Yeah.
So
But it's still like it has like it's not like whiskey viscous, but it's got like this kind of viscous mouthfeel where it's coating, but it's not heavy. It's really light.
no, it builds up with layers. It's like the more you drink it, it's like it's building up in a layer. I am really, really curious now because I'm actually getting ready to make some beer bread, and maybe I'll make a loaf of it. Stick this in instead of some vanilla.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be really interesting. It's almost
We're gonna find out.
not like a winter fruit cake, but this is like a summer It would be like a summer tropical
Yeah,
bread.
yeah,
Banana bread with this in it.
yeah.
Banana
Would be
bread
good
with
too.
this in it would be so interesting.
Banana bread is on the slate too. Yeah, my regret for getting this is that I did not get more bottles for myself. Most of the bottles that I got went away as gifts. And after I'd gotten into it, I thought, I wish I would have bought more.
Well, that usually is the way it is, especially at that price. It's hard to
Yeah,
argue when you're getting away with something at in between 20 and $30. I usually I feel pretty happy about it. I
yeah.
mean that.
I mean, you're 20. What was it? Yeah, 22 or 23 Canadian, and it was like I don't know. It was like 75 or 77 cents American to a Canadian dollar. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Captain Morgan or Sailor Jerry or some of those other ones cost, but I imagine that's in their territory of
Hmm.
cost.
I went to Evan. Man, I'd be if I knew this was right next to it, and well, I know. Let's say you're probably paying 17 or 25 for in America for the big
Yeah,
175 version of Captain, but when you're looking at probably the $17 version of the 750 milliliter, this I would grab this over that any day of the week.
oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and this is totally drinkable by itself. For I think Captain. I have some Captain Morgan Cannonball, which is supposed to be like the shot thing. That it's years. It's just sitting over there in the
Cannonball.
corner of the thing and I think maybe I'll have to send it out just to see how maybe uniquely different that would be versus something like this, because
Yeah,
this is kind of a treat whiskey. I mean, you could almost this would be
yeah,
nice as whiskey. It's like a dessert whiskey. If you were looking at it that way, it's like a dessert rum. Like I would have this if I were setting up a meal plan. I would either have this in the very beginning or kind of at the desserty end.
yeah.
Is where I would put this. I wouldn't probably put it in the middle. Uh, Probably put something that stands up a little bit more to the food, unless we were going like all Caribbean, um, which I'm good at cooking, by the way. There's some Caribbean sweet potatoes that it's a puree, but it is fantastic. It takes like 2 or 3 hours to make, but it is fucking delicious.
Well, that's the thing with this. Again, it's a regret. It's like I could see using several bottles of this to cook with.
Oh, easily.
All right, I'm gonna try.
What are you doing
Pouring just a little more for science.
for science?
For science, and I'm just gonna see what happens if with a little dash of proof added to it.
You're adding green whiskey?
Evan Williams bottled in bond.
Okay, just a little tipper over. Let me see what
Yeah,
I got here that I can play with just for fun.
just a little something.
Oh, I have some Caval single barrel rye whiskey that was sweet.
Oh
We had
yeah,
that, and
you're going full diabetes.
I'm gonna go down that path, and we'll see what happens here.
You don't need all your toes.
Well, I do right now. I don't know if they'll amputate him right now for a couple months. They might not let me in. Like, oh, that's not enough. That's
You might-
not essential yet.
Might have to do it yourself.
Well, that changed this a bit. Ooh, holy wow! Well, we said this was the Caval rye was sweet that day we had it. It was like a candied whiskey. Maybe I had a little too much. Hold on, I'm gonna have to add some Havana Club because
Okay.
I feel like the rye maybe I added too much. Maybe I want like a 50-50 more so because that was really strong there. Still, the bready rye has taken over a lot of the nose. Orange peel, then some molasses and some barrel note. The rye kind of took over more of it. There's some of the rum in here, but the rye, it's still 40% on both of them. So jumped over. What's the nose on yours, or the taste like what you did? Some Evan Williams.
Okay, so it's like the bourbon because the bottle of bond, that's 50%, and it's about 50-50 is what I put in there. But the nose leans more towards the bourbon side, traditional bourbon, a little cherry, wood, vanilla, etc. But then there's a little bit of that citrus. But it's the taste and the palate, that extra kick, that extra proof from that Evan Williams. Man, if you got something bottled in bond to throw in with a little bit of that rum, because it didn't sweeten it up, it toned the sweetness down, but that proof just really made it just kind of go through your mouth. But it's still, the weirdest thing is just like that. Which one was that? What whiskey was that we had that it would not go past the middle of the tongue?
Oh, that was border. I think it was just a border bourbon after we had the wheat,
Yeah.
where it was just like poof.
So this is it still has not gone past the middle of my tongue.
That's just such a weird, cool thing when it
It's
happens.
annoying,
Um,
but it's nice. I mean, that simple blend, it's nice. I do like that. It added I mean, and again, I like Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, as many people do, and they should. But it definitely added more body to the Evan Williams. I'd say it did more good for the Evan Williams than it did for the rum.
that's where I was gonna go with this, because the rum gets kind of canceled out and kind of flashes out at 2 points, kind of midway through, and one after you've swallowed, and the aftertaste where some of the lighter notes kind of come out more prominent then, and the barrel notes kind of on the side of the tongue. But this one,
Wow.
it's a little more sugary. It's still very light on the, it's, like I said, it's like a light syrup. It's not very overly viscousy, but it's just, there's like a coating effect to it, but it's not like it's not like it's pulling a lot of flavor with it. But it's a little bit blander. You still get, it kind of flattens out the rye quite a bit, I would say. It flattens out the rye, and you're getting just hints of some of the bright notes in it, but from the rum. But I wouldn't say it's not a bad drink. I don't think either one did it either one favor in this one.
Yeah, that's a weird rye to try to do something with.
I know, but it was right at hand, and then otherwise there was, I don't know. I didn't really want to grab any of the things right at hand. So I mean, it was like I said, I tried something different. You know, going the whole, see what happens.
I mean, me personally, if I knew somebody traveling and they were going to go and said, would bring something back, I would 100% say, please bring back several of these. On top of any, if you found anything good treasures or something in Canada. If you could find it down here, I don't know if you could find if there's a Cuban version to find in the States, and I cannot imagine it is that inexpensive either. But I would totally get it. I would not hesitate to get this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. For the cost of what it sounded like, this is definitely worth having and trying. If nothing else, it's something easy to sip on that's at least interesting.
Yeah.
If it was a whiskey, you could argue as a background whiskey, but it would be a very enjoyable background whiskey.
Yes.
Where it's like I can drink this, but there's flavors happening that aren't overpowering, where I can still focus on other stuff. But there was 5-6 things going on there that were pretty prominent. So yeah, not bad. Havana Club. We're not for the first step down the little rum side of things. This was a nice entry point.
Yeah.
And next time we'll probably have Ben with us. He's not available to show up tonight. So we felt a little bad. That's why we went that route. But I think the next time we do it, what do we got here? Havana Club Extra Aged Cuban Rum, a 7-year-old version. Yeah. I think we'll probably jump. Even more important, just the number on the bottle makes you excited.
Which, okay, weird enough, and it's a much nicer label. It's got an actual age statement to it, but again, really weird with liquor laws and pricing, etc. The one in an LCBO store, that one, the Anejo, or however you say it, was a basically consistent price at the LCBOs of $40-ish, and this was like $20-something in the store, and age stated versus that. But then this was not at all. I didn't see at the duty free, but the other one was. It makes no sense. Now I'm not saying one's drastically better than the other, but it's from the whiskey world, you obviously have a bias when you see an age stated because it's at least 7 or has a drop of 7 in it versus whatever. But
I'm going to save a little bit of the anejo to see what it's like, but there is a. Oh, hold on here. Okay, when I don't have it, I'll bring it over here. It's a little hard to see, but there is a complete difference in color. One's
Yeah.
kind of yellowy. One's definitely more of like an orangey kind of look to it. So, yeah, we'll look forward to getting Ben back. We'll do that one, and then at some point we have a privateer rum, and when we do that one, let's be honest, I'm going to try to get in contact with Maggie and see if we can't get her on from Privateer Rum. She does a whole bunch of neat stuff. She's their distiller, and she has a wonderful backstory that I think a lot of people should know. She also is on Instagram, and she does like weekly or bi-weekly shows now. A lot of people are doing more shows now that they're at home more. But she gives a ton of information about the whole experience, and I can't say enough about. I listened to two of the broadcasts, and you are getting some wonderful in-depth information, and some of the people in the chat know a whole lot as well too. So it's an education in rum. So if you're kind of like me, I felt behind. I felt like I was getting caught up a little quick there. Without doing too much research, I was getting spoon-fed some college degrees, which is nice.
But I also, at least what appears to be a really great personality.
Oh yeah,
and fun to. It's like I want to learn from you. Yeah,
she seems like she's completely happy, kind of like Alan Bishop, excited to tell you about what the hell is going on.
Yeah,
what have I been working on? This is this. Excited to let. Really like a teacher's perspective from them.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they're excited to help you learn.
Yeah.
And that's pretty hard to come by a lot of times. So yeah, it's pretty neat. They both have wonderful personalities. So, and we'll be having Alan on in a couple weeks, or maybe not. Depends upon when this airs. Don't know when this is dropping, but he'll be on there. We'll link to that up here in a little bit, and we'll try to get Maggie on at some point in the future too. Once we hit up the privateer one, where we're going to work our way up with a couple of the basic ones we have before we jump up to that one. So thanks, Mike, for stopping out. Appreciate you coming on tonight and being here with the rest of the den heads out there. But from our den to yours, remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey, or in this case, rum. Whatever it is you love, just love it. Cheers, everyone.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Clap your hands. Get some more. Just get some more.